Perhaps it shall not sit for long. Perhaps it shall not sit for long. We shall see.
In
We
that
shall
case.
see, yes. It rises. It rises before goat versus fish. Well, goat versus fish can rise as well. Yes, shall we rise as one? Shall we rise as one?
Yes, let's do that.
Yes, no sitting before goat versus fish. Oh, yes, yes. Bring it with
Should I
you.
bring
Yes,
my
yes.
mic? Okay, I've got my mic now.
You come before goat versus fish.
I do.
Do you wish to hear the verses of goat versus fish?
I do.
Then say goat versus fish with goat versus fish. We say goat versus fish. In the beginning, there was goat versus fish. The goat fish. And goat versus fish said that there should be goat and that there should be fish. There is no alpha or omega. There is no black or white. There is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish. And goat versus fish. Welcome to the Goat vs. Fish podcast, recorded at the Comedy Store Los Angeles, a place of goat versus fish.
Thank you.
Goat versus fish comes from within you, and within you is goat versus fish.
Let's let it out.
You have many questions, yes?
I do.
What is your question? What is your question for goat versus fish?
My question would be, how does this work into the dogma debate?
That is a question. Goat versus fish has not heard this question before. Yes, what is a dogma debate? What is a dogma debate? Is it goat? Is it fish?
Well, it's hard to say. I'm just kind of going with what I see in front of me.
What do you see? What do you see?
I see a sign that says dogma debate.
You do?
I do.
Oh, so it is.
It is.
What is this? It is covering the Comedy Store Los Angeles, and it is calling itself the dogma debate. Goat versus fish does not know of these verses. One called Albamani. Yes, goat versus fish must speak to you now. Yes, the fence sitter Albamani. Goat versus fish wishes to hear what you have to say. That one cannot speak to goat versus fish.
He didn't ask for Mike. He asked for you, Al.
That is so. Come here. Come on, Albamani. Yes, come before goat versus fish. Come before goat versus fish.
Yes.
Yes, we are simply curious. What it is. Yes, you would need to be speaking for them to hear. Come beside goat versus fish. Simply explain what is this dogma debate that we can see here that is within goat versus fish?
It looks like a new podcast.
It is another one of the podcasterly ones, yes. Do you know anything of this new podcast?
I know we're plugging the
Should be
shit out
available
of
on
it.
iTunes. But download that along with Goat vs. Fish first.
After Goat versus Fish.
After Goat vs. Fish, check out our new sponsor, the Dogma Debate.
It is here. Well, goat versus fish does not know of these verses, yes, but they do seem to be here.
I thought it was a cue card guy. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I thought there was the tripod. I thought it was a cue card guy. Sorry.
Make some noise for fence sitter Albamani.
Hey,
yes.
Al. Yeah. Hey, isn't that the guy I saw him quite a bit on I'm Dying Up Here?
You have. That one is
I
often
have.
saying how much it is dying up here. Yes, goat versus
Yes.
fish is not too understanding of what these verses are, yes, but you can speak of it.
If you wish.
Well, you have mentioned it to Goat versus Fish.
have,
Goat versus
I
Fish
have.
thought perhaps it was important verses for you.
Okay, well, this is how I met Al. Was working on I'm Dying Up Here together in season 2. So here I am after months and months.
Has it always been sitting on the fence? Has it always sat on the fence?
I don't think so. Al was pretty hardy on set, you know. He would laugh on cue with the best of them.
You ought to say that this one has been goat or fish when Goat versus Fish is not there to see that it is being a goat or a fish?
I would say so, except that
One
there's
Albamani. What is this that you have done to Goat versus Fish? You are being a goat or fish. You are taking part in the verses. This is so pleasant to Goat versus Fish, and yet Goat versus Fish has not even heard you say that you are a goat or a fish. It denies it. It is denying it. It is denying it.
He is in denial. Yeah, I would say he's definitely in denial.
Who is goat versus fish? What is goat versus fish? Why is goat versus fish? There is only one question.
Which is?
Are you prepared? Are you prepared for the one true question? Are you prepared for the one true question?
Ask and find out.
Are you goat or are you fish?
Fish.
It is a fish! It is a fish! Yes. We celebrate the fish. We celebrate this fish that comes to speak to goat versus fish. Welcome, fish. We celebrate this fish.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. My gills are shining.
Ah, it is a shiny gilled fish, and it was written that it was a shiny gilled fish.
It was written that way, but we're still writing. There's lots of edits to be made, so
fish.
It could end up anything. Yes.
How does it feel to be fish?
Well, it feels kind of like, I like being wet. Definitely like being wet. I like being underwater. I like being in the snow. So, although, snow kind of scares a fish because it usually means you're being packed to be shipped off somewhere to become sushi or something like that. And, I'm not too into that, but, there is a circle of life, as your crown would probably indicate, because there had to be a predecessor, or were you born into this?
In the beginning, there was goat versus fish, yes. It has always been goat versus fish.
Yes.
Do you know what was before goat versus fish?
Absolutely nothing.
Goat versus fish. Goat versus fish was before goat versus fish.
Well, there you go.
Goat versus fish has heard of the snow. Yes. It is where the sea seems to almost become the land, yes. It becomes a land that even the goat can move upon, yes. And it is at the very top of the land, top of the land, at the very peak.
In fact, that would be mountain goats.
Mountain goat.
You actually have a name. I don't know if that's a scientific name, but it's a name.
It sounds like goat. It is a goat. Oh, speaking of names, yes, the ones such as you, but you are a fish, of course. We celebrate this fish. What do the ones, when they are not calling you fish, what is it that they are calling you? What is it that they are calling
asshole.
This one? Oh, they are calling it an asshole. Yes, so an asshole is a fish.
Me?
Yes, we are speaking
I thought
of
you were speaking of someone else. I'm Stewart Strauss. Thanks for asking. And now I'll just be known as a fish.
You are a fish.
I am a fish.
Yes, is it pleasant to you to know that you shall be known as a fish because you are a fish? You have chosen fish.
I would choose fish over goat most days of the week.
Ah. What are the verses in which you would choose goat over fish?
Better eating, more, for me, I'm not much into tin cans or anything like that, especially with my gums and teeth. So things that are easier to chew and digest, which would be pretty much softened by being in the water all the time, I would assume. So that would be me.
You have much of the fur of the goat upon you, yes? You have much of the fur of the goat upon your visage, yes?
I do.
Many ones such
much
as
like
you.
yourself.
Ah, much like goat versus fish. You see yourself in goat versus fish.
I do.
Yes. What do you see? What do you see when you behold goat versus fish?
I see the ages. I see the aging process that ravages most animals, except for very few of us. Vampires are probably an exception, if you believe in that kind of thing, I guess. I don't know.
Ah, the false verses. Yes, you are taking in many false verses that are not goat versus fish.
I blame it on Preacher. I watched Preacher, an episode last night where there is a vampire. It's very real, a couple of them.
Is a vampire a goat or a fish?
I'd go with goat.
You say it is goat. You say it is goat.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely goat.
It is time for the first choosing. It is time for the first choosing. Are you prepared for the first choosing of the verses?
I am now, yes.
The first choosing. What is the first choosing?
Goat.
It is goat. It is goat. The first choosing is goat. The fish has chosen goat. Fish, tell us about this goat.
Well, this goat has waxes its goatee. Look at that. You don't get a shape like that on a beard without wax. So very style conscious, probably a hipster, probably like some 20-something goat, probably vapes in public and, gets high with the other goats and listens to, college radio. I wouldn't know what else, but obviously one stylish goat.
Yes, but speaking of the fur of the goat again, you notice the fur of the goatee of this goat, yes, and you have the fur of the goat upon you, and yet
I do.
You are fish, yes. How is it that you have the fur of the goat? Many goats say that because of the fur of the goat that is upon them, that is what makes them goat. But it does not make you goat because you are a fish, yes? Tell us of these verses.
Well, all I can really say about that is that I was a bastard child, and I don't really know my origins. I know that my birthday is celebrated when Pisces is in, alignment, so I'm considered a Pisces. So I've always thought I was a fish, but I could be wrong. I mean, it was one foster home after another until I was pretty much just left on my own is when I ran into Al on set. And, I found I could eat. I could eat again. I hadn't eaten in a long time. So I really, I could be more goat than fish. Could be as goat and fish. I could be a goat fish.
It's a beautiful verses of goat and fish, a beautiful way to be verses. Won't you be goat? Won't you be fish? It's a beautiful verses of goat and fish, a beautiful way to be verses. Could you be fish? Could you be goat? I've always wanted to meet a goat or fish like you. I've always wanted to have goat versus fish to do. Oh, the fence-sitters say goat v fish is the worst. But as long as we're here, then we might as well verse. Could you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be goat or fish? Goat versus fish accepts you as a goat or a fish as you are. Goat versus fish has heard that you have been to many places when you were a small one, and this makes goat versus fish feel pitiable to you. But you are welcome, always welcome with goat versus fish. Goat versus fish is here for you now.
Excellent. And I thank you so much. I have never felt like I had a home, and now I do. So, what's for dinner?
It could be goat, it could be fish. What do you wish to consume? What do you wish to consume?
I like pellet fish food. I don't like anything that had blood in it. So, you can just give me a little pinch of food, Do you have...
A fish food? Well, goat versus fish can give you fish.
Yes, I'll eat this sucker raw.
Now, you have said many verses of, yes, you say you could be a goat and a fish. You have said that perhaps you are a goat. You are now questioning your fish. And of the Pisces, yes?
Yes.
Goat versus fish must tell you, yes, that other things have told you that you are a Pisces, yes, because of your verse day. But goat versus fish is here to tell you that it is for you to choose goat or fish. Are you goat or are you fish?
Goat.
It is goat now. Oh, it is goat. It is goat. We celebrate this goat. I goat for this goat. I goat for this goat.
Yes.
I goat. I goat. I goat. I goat for
hello,
goat versus fish.
Hello.
I goat.
I goat.
Oh, goat versus fish.
I'm coming out of the closet on this show that I am a goat.
It is a goat. After all the verses, it is goat. Oh, I am so sorry, fish. I am so sorry, fish.
I think I was born this way.
It is time for the second choosing.
Okay, let's see. I'm not going to look. And here we are with a fence sitter.
Ooh, the fence sitter. Ooh, the fence sitter. The fence sitter, the pitiable fence sitter, that when asked the one true question, cannot choose goat or fish. Tell us of this fence sitter. Tell us of this fence sitter.
Well, it looks like if you don't sit at exactly the right spot, you're going to have a very sharp object up your ass, and I would imagine splinters to go with that. Otherwise, it's a lovely white fence for a white picket house or white picket fence on any color house you choose. And actually, as a goat, I don't like being fenced in at all, so I'd never sit on it either.
Goat versus Fish has a question for this goat. Now that it is goat. You are goat, yes? You are goat?
I am goat.
Yes, let us bring this fence sitter. Yes, it is not truly part of the verses because it is simply sitting on the fence watching the verses from afar, yes? But there is a goat. Perhaps there shall be a fish later, yes?
I'm just sitting on a fence.
You are? You are sitting on the fence? I thought you were a goat.
You could say I've got no sense. I hope you guys don't have to pay the Rolling Stones if I sing more than 4 bars of that sitting on a fence song.
Oh, the stone is of the land. The stone is of the land, and the land
good,
is part
good.
of Goat versus Fish.
Okay.
Yes, it's all part of Goat versus
Excellent.
Fish. Speaking of the land,
yes.
of the land, yes? Twin Peaks.
I've heard of it.
Twin Peaks. The goat are of the land, and the fish are of the sea. It is said that the peak is the highest place of the land. The highest place of the land. The goat could go to the highest place of the land, and it could look down upon all the fish of the sea, yes? Some would say that it is a great advantage of goat to be in such a high place to look at the verses. And yet it is not 1 peak, but 2.
I thought there was only 1 peak, sir.
It is twin peaks. It is twin peaks for goats. Now, goat, you are a goat. You have been a fish. Now you are a goat. What is it like to verses with twin peaks?
The advantage for goat is that we can be anywhere on those 2 peaks, anywhere at all, at any time. And if we don't like it there, have purpose in another place, we'll just appear there. And you can't beat the air at the top of those twin peaks. Just doesn't get better.
Has a fish ever come to one or even both of the twin peaks to versus this goat?
Only goldfish that were generally brought by a production assistant to feed the director.
They were brought to the verses. Fish were brought to the verses. This must have pleased the goat to know that you could versus a fish.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, my favorite is usually going to be smoked or spicy salmon. Any kind of salmon. Partially because they make it up the hill themselves. You know, they will come upstream as far as they can, and then we send the crew after them. But I do have to watch. I can't have too much seafood. So, depends where the fish is from, of course.
Oh, of course. Every fish is its own fish. Every fish is its own fish.
Yes.
You say you enjoy to consume fish, but you do not versus the fish by consumption as often as perhaps as you wish. What is your preferred way to versus fish? What is your preferred versus a fish?
My preferred versus a fish would have to be blackened salmon. Right there. I just can't think of anything. Definitely a Creole, pretty much recipe. And I have no mercy when it comes to this sort of thing.
Do you hear it, fish? This goat has no mercy for you. Oh, it is goat versus fish. It is goat versus fish. A goat that prefers its fence a little bit on the fish. Ooh, it likes its fish a bit fancy, a little blackened fish. Ooh, it sounds fancy to lead to goat versus fish. Goat versus fish looked at your verses of the Twin Peaks, yes? The Twin Land Peak verses. And goat versus fish saw that this goat was, for a versus, trapped by the very fence, was surrounded, contained by the very fence, and yet then this goat did disappear from the verses and escaped the very fence that contained it. You were speaking of not liking to be contained by the fence.
This is true.
How did this goat escape the fence? How did the goat escape the very fence of the fence sitter?
Well, again, that was part of the mystery of Twin Peaks. That, again, I could just kind of come and go as I pleased, something the director let me do. And if I ask you for a light, or one of my partners asks you for a light...
Yes, it is a false question. It is not the one true question, are you goat or fish?
Run. If we ask if you're goat or fish, please answer. Your life will depend on it. So be as honest as you can, and we'll know if you're not. I mean, come on, we're actors. We know when people are lying. So we do it for a living. That's all I can tell you.
Well, then perhaps goat versus fish can ask you in this way, yes? There are many goat and fish. There are many goat and fish that Well, they have not yet realized their goat or fish. They struggle with the verses within, and they are sat upon the fence. They are sitting on the fence, choosing neither goat nor fish. You have escaped the fence.
Yes.
Goat versus fish has seen on evidence. What advices could you give to a goat or fish that seems trapped by the fence, wishing to leave, but does not have this versus to be able to appear or disappear from the fence, but you have escaped the fence? What advices would you give to a goat or fish trapped by the fence?
To never give up. Never give up. And you're never too old, and it's never too late. And that is what I'll tell every goat and fish. I'm pretty damn old for goat. You know, I don't know.
Old goat.
Old goat. They used to, in fact, my nickname is FOG, Fog, fucking old goat.
It is time for the third choosing. It is time for the third choosing.
Okay. Goat.
It is goat again. Oh, it is goat again. Tell us of this goat. Tell us of this goat.
Well, this goat's just as slick as the last goat, but I notice his ears are really, really perked up. Is he listening to us now?
You could ask it.
Are you listening to us now?
Yeah!
That's affirmative. And those eyes are haunting. Haunting, I'm telling you.
Listening, haunting goat. Listening, haunting goat. Now, you have come from a place that is called the woods. Yes, they call it a woodsman.
This is true, yes.
Yes, now we know it is a woods goat. It is a woods goat. What is the special verses of versing within the woods, yes? The woods, they seem to be part of the land, yes? But what advantage does the goat have over a fish in the woods? Or is it a place of fish to verses?
It's natural habitat. We can, again, we know where we are. We're comfortable in the wild. We're comfortable sleeping inside of a tree trunk. Or a convenience store for that matter, or not sleeping at all. If I need to, I'll be in the 1950s for a day. Maybe I want to watch Desi and Lucy film a goat versus fish original show back then. I can do that. Or I can come here and go watch a taping of Stephen Colbert in New York. No one's even going to know I'm there. There's lots of advantages if I'm answering the question.
You may answer as you wish. Yes, you may answer as you wish. Yes, goat versus fish is simply trying to learn of the woods. Yes.
All right. Can I change hats for a minute?
You are looking upon goat. Tell the ones who listen of this goat that you're looking upon.
Well, yes? I've only seen things like this from the Shriners, maybe, and the Rams. Oh, yeah, that's me. And Ralph Cramden.
And the goat put the very goat upon its horns. Yes, it was goat upon goat. It is a goat now.
All right, I like it.
Black Lodge Woodsman.
Yes.
There is no alpha or omega. There is no black or white. Now, you are a goat. You are a fish. You are a goat. And yet you are called the Black Lodge Woodsman, yes? Does that not make this goat feel somewhat fence-sitterly to be called black or white? That is neither black nor white. There is only goat and fish.
Well, I would agree. I hadn't thought of it, but now that I have, I'm very offended. And I don't know why I haven't been offended. Probably because I just wasn't paying attention. But if there is another no colored lodge, I don't know, purple, pink, yellow, red. Hey, I don't even need a lodge. I don't even need a sleeping bag in this kind of weather. So I'm fine. Just give me maybe a little bit. Hey, if I can borrow this or this bigger fish as a pillow.
Yes, take the fish. You need the fish to versus. You are a goat. It is goat versus fish.
And this guy not only has a mirror so I can see what's caught in my teeth, but he's a pillow at the same time. This is all I need in life. And maybe one of these.
Goat,
so,
yes, of course, yes. We all need goat.
Yeah.
We all need goat and
I don't
fish.
need anything else, though. Well, maybe this guy. I don't know. This guy's pretty cool.
Oh, the fence sitter. Oh, you look upon the fence sitter.
He's a fence sitter? This is a fence sitter? I thought he was like the most badass guy in the room.
Yes, but ask it. Are you goat or are you fish?
Are you goat or are you fish? That sounds more
You hear how
like...
it is laughing at you?
Yeah,
It is laughing at the
laughing.
question.
Hey, Hey, am I funny? Did I say something funny to you? I would consider you stop laughing before. Okay. Whatever. I have no power over you. I'd like to, but I don't.
Go back upon the fence. Go back upon the fence, and that is where you wish to be, fence-sitter. Oh, fence-sitter. Fence-sitter, fence-sitter, fence-sitter. Yes, some of the young ones, they say, oh, it looks so cool to sit upon the fence. Oh, let us all sit on the fence and not be goat or fish. Yes, but these ones do not have the wisdom of goat versus fish. They have not learned yet to choose goat or fish. It is most pitiable.
Never sit on a fence. Not for very long. You're going to tear your pants. You could end up doing damage to your genitals. Don't sit on a fence. Make a decision and go with it. If you don't like it, you can always change it later on. You know?
Are you goat or fish?
I'm goat.
It is goat. It is goat. The fourth choosing of the verses. Yes, goats choose the fourth choosing.
Okay, whoops. I'll just take that one.
Yes?
Fish.
It is fish. At long verses, the fish joins the verses. Yes, tell us of this fish that enters the verses. There are 2 goat, 1 fence-sitter, and now there is this fish.
Well, this is a fish with a mohawk and a frown. I don't get it. I mean, he thinks he's cool enough to get a mohawk haircut, but can't smile a little bit more than that? Unless he knows he's ready for the butcher. I don't really get it. Come on, smile. You're a fish. Damn it.
Does this fish reminding you of the fish that you were,
No, but he does remind me a bit of my Uncle Ernie. Who was...
Ernie versus.
Oh, man, that guy he always smelled like fish. I don't know why. He had a lot of lovers, but I don't know why.
Perhaps because it was a fish.
Could be.
Now, are you ready for these verses?
Yes.
Goat versus fish. Ooh, Goat versus Fish has been waiting to ask you about these verses. You do have these verses. They are written just upon you. Yes, they are written just upon you. Do you know these verses? Do you know these verses?
I probably do not.
Yes, you can read these verses. Read these verses if you can read what is written.
Gladly. Yes. This is the water, this is the well. Drink full and ascend. The horse is the white of the eyes and dark within. I've heard of that before. In fact, it was a good friend of mine that actually recited that the first time it was heard.
But you are a woods goat along with that one, yes?
Yes.
Perhaps it is a woods fish, but you would know more of these verses than the average goat or fish.
I would. Perhaps.
Well, let us look upon these verses. Yes, this is the water. Yes, the sea of the fish.
Yes, it is.
This is the well. Yes, tell us of the well.
You don't really want fish in your well if you can avoid it. That's like fish in your coffee percolator. Then again, the first comic, unfortunately, there were no comedy store anyway, but W.C. Fields wouldn't drink water because fish fuck in it. So, I don't know. I've tried to take that advice as well, except when it's time to serve for survival.
Yes, but what of the horse? Yes, is a horse a goat or a fish?
Much closer to a goat.
Yes,
Descendant of a goat. Taste more like chicken.
And would you do saying that because it is descended from a goat that it is a goat, or is it a fence-sitter that is choosing neither goat nor fish? In your verses, there is not a one calling itself a horse here to ask.
Fence-sitter. I call a horse as a fence-sitter, yes.
Fence-sitter.
Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious. The horse, you could even open the corral, and those horses aren't going anywhere. They only know one thing.
So the horse is fence-sitter. This does not surprise goat versus fish. And the white, yes, the fence-sitter, the white of the eyes. Well, perhaps it is white. We know there is no black or white, but if it is fence-sitter... you did speak of a white fence. You spoke of a white fence.
I did when you showed me that picket fence. Yes, or that's how I saw it. Yeah, well, if the white of the eyes Is that where we are, the white of the fence? Are we talking white paint, whitewash? We talking Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer?
We are talking goat versus fish. We are talking goat versus fish.
No Mark Twain here. Okay.
Could goat versus fish ask Mark Twain if it is goat or fish?
I will ask him.
Oh, thank you, yes. Thank you, yes. Please do.
Yes, he's goat. He says he's goat. Although, he spent so much time on river... I'm misconstruing. Fish.
Mark Twain fish?
Yes, he was always in the water. He traveled by sea to Europe, back and forth, and I think he used a boat, but he was fish. He might not have needed a boat or a ship. I don't think he did much flying, unless he flew with George Washington Carver. I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to check that out.
We will have to ask that one. We will have to ask that one about any goat or fish that it has versus
Actually,
with.
we could refer that to drunk history.
Yes, it is surprising to goat versus fish that they have not yet spoken of goat versus fish, though it has always been goat versus fish.
It has been goat versus fish. And the longer I'm here, the more I realize it as well.
Thank you, yes. That is because you are with goat versus fish.
This is true.
And you are a goat!
Perfect enlightenment.
Yes, let us continue.
Let's do that, because no one's going to know what the hell I'm talking about, including me.
Let us see. So it is the eye. Now, the goat and fish, they do have an eye of the goat and the fish. And yet, if it is white, it is of the white, then surely it is fence-sitter as well. Yes, the white of the fence.
Okay.
So we have replaced the horse. We are calling it fence-sitter. Yes, the eye now is a fence. Yes, if you are a goat or fish and you do have an eye, yes, do not despair. Do not despair, but if you are speaking of the white of the eye, well, surely white. There is no black or white. There is only goat and fish. Fence. Yes, now you can read the verses. You can read the verses. Read the verses anew.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. This is the water. This is the well. Drink full and descend. The fence-sitter is the white of the fence and dark within.
And it was written, and it was written.
And it is written right here. In fact, this little 3x5 card. It is written. It was written. You wrote it. And it was. It is.
It is written.
It's right there.
Is David Lynch goat or fish?
David, you'll never get a straight answer out of David Lynch, ever. So, and I can never speak for David Lynch. To him, yes. Him to me, occasionally.
Is there any evidence of goat or fish that you could direct goat versus fish to say if it is a fish or a goat?
Well, let me see here. I would probably go more goat with David. Although I'm sure he's a descendant of both, because in the beginning...
Goat versus fish.
Absolutely. So, David would be, 1 minute he's a fish. He is very much like any other schooled fish.
Yes.
Where he will come in the same uniform and he will make sure that, everything is as expected. Maybe let's call it the Alfred Hitchcock school of direction, where the director wears a suit and tie, although David never wears a tie. Sits in a director's chair, uses a megaphone. For all of that, I see him as a fish. But when it comes to getting your hands dirty, David is a goat. David will get in the middle of anything to get the effect that he wants or the look that he wants. He is probably one of the most creative and trusting of all goats and fishes. So I have nothing but praise for this very original goat fish.
Well, we shall see. Perhaps goat versus fish will be able to speak to that one versus and ask it if it is goat or fish.
Yes, you would have to ask him. And anybody that knows him knows that very difficult to get a better answer than you're going to get from me, which is almost no answer at all.
Well, it could be fence-sitter. It could be a fence-sitter.
That is one thing David Lynch is not. I am not a fence-sitter. We are always doing something. I mean, I will sit on a fence if there's something good to watch on television.
There is no good or evil. There is only goat and fish. You see, once one is even pondering of sitting on the fence, it starts speaking very fence-sitterly, yes?
Like I say, if I'm sitting on a fence, it's probably because I have no sense to sit on a fence. You know, what else would you be doing on a fence?
What do you say to the goat?
I say thank you for being true inspiration, guiding me through these many generations, taking me many places, and always having the light on of, enlightenment, of spiritual awakening, and basically a hot meal when I need it. So, yes, thank you.
What do you say to the fish?
Medium rare, make sure to get the bones out. There we go.
What do you say to the fence sitter?
Get up and shake your body.
It is time for the final choosing of the verses. It is time for final verses choosing. There are 2 goat. There is 1 fence sitter. There is 1 fish. And it is for the goat to choose. It is for the goat to choose.
Okay, here we go. And fence sitter again.
Oh, another fence sitter. Oh, another fence sitter.
I'll be darned. Okay.
Tell us of this verses. This verses of 2 goat, 2 fence sitter, and 1 fish. Tell us of the whole verses. What has happened in this verses?
Okay, what I'm seeing in front of my eyes as it's unfolding is actually one happy family. There's no goat, there's no fish, there's goat, fish, goat. Everybody's getting along, they're communing. Some of them are reproducing as we speak. And I see no conflicts. I see nothing but harmony. And I couldn't be any more ecstatic. I wish the fence would stop moving, though. The fence is, it's the fence that's moving. It won't stop moving. Did you put something in this water, Al? Okay. Then it would probably be the stuff I did at home before I came here.
Ah, your preparation for goat
Yes,
versus fish.
it lasts quite a while.
Now you say it is goat fish. You have said it is goat fish, but what of the verses that is just before you? What of that verses? Is it not goat versus fish?
Actually, this would be the most comforting of all the verses.
Ah, yes.
Absolutely. This is the most comforting. The color is, reminds me of vitamin C for some reason. By all means, I could be very happy with this verse alone.
And goat versus fish is very happy with you, goat. Is very happy with you, goat.
Well, thank you, Goat versus Fish, because I'm quite happy too.
Always thank goat versus fish. Always thank goat versus fish.
Thank you, Goat versus Fish. Always.
And now, goat, fish, and fence sitter alike is the verses to celebrate goat versus fish. It may be a celebration of goat. It may be a celebration of fish. It may even be a celebration of the fence sitter that chooses neither goat nor fish. With us now is the Stewart Strauss goat. Goat versus fish is curious, yes? Goat,
Yeah.
Do you have a celebration of goat versus fish that you wish to share with the ones who listen?
This is the water, this is the well, drink full and descend. The fence sitter is the white of the fence and dark within. This is the water, this is the well, drink full and descend. The fence sitter is the white of the fence and dark within. This is the water, this is the well, drink full and descend. The fence sitter is the white of the fence and dark within. This is the water, this is the well, drink full and descend. The fence sitter is the white of the fence and dark within. This is the water, this is the well. Drink full and descend. The fence sitter is the white of the fence and dark within. Thank you very much.
Now, goat, if any goat or fish wish to communicate with you, to ask you about your verses, yes, whether it be the twin peaking verses, yes, or perhaps the dying up here verses, or any verses that they wish, how would they communicate with this goat that was a fish?
Well, I'm not telepathic, so they're going to have to either write, and which can be done electronically, as you well know, without wires, without cable. Still kind of knocks me out. So they can go to the, what did you call it earlier? The twit something?
The Twitterver, the twit of
Twitter at Stu Strauss. That's STEWSTRAUSS. They can write a message on Facebook at Stewart Strauss, I believe. That is my name, right? STEWARTSTRAUSS. You can be my friend, you can be my neighbor. And what else? We have Instagram, and that's also at Stu Strauss, STEWSTRAUSS. Or they can just yell super loud,
GOAT!
Well, I heard all of that. And next up, I don't even know what's next up, you know? But as long as there's goat versus fish, I will always be thankful, happy, and guided.
Thank you for joining Goat versus Fish. These are the verses of Goat versus Fish. Subscribe, rate, and review the Goat vs. Fish podcast on the Ite-Oons and the YouTube and even on the Twitch. Follow Goat vs. Fish on all social media. On the Instagram, on the Book of Faces, on the Twitterver, all at Goat vs. Fish, all at GoatVsFish. And if you, one who listens, has a celebration for Goat vs. Fish, send it to Goat vs. Fish at GoatVsFish@gmail.com. Join the Goat vs. Fish discussion group on the Book of Faces to discuss Goat vs. Fish with other goat and fish, or even a fence sitter. And when you are out in the land and the sea, look about you. Look about you. Find one who is lost. Find one who does not know the way. And ask. Simply ask, are you goat or are you fish? Are you goat or fish? Are you goat or fish? These are the verses of Goat versus Fish. I am Goat versus Fish, the goat fish. And it was written, and it was written.